Hello and welcome to the Wedding Files. I'm Tracy and I'm here to help you navigate through the mysteries of planning your wedding. So today we're going to talk about the scariest thing you have to figure out, your budget. It's the first question venues will ask other than your date. It could be the difference of being able to hire a DJ or not. And there's so much riding on this magic number, but how do you find the number to begin with? Well, that's where I'm here to help you. Today's episode, I'm going to show you how to fight the budget monster. So what is a budget and why is it scary? Well, a budget is an estimate of income and expenditures for a set period of time. So from now until you get married. It's scary because how in the world are you supposed to know how much things cost? And how are you supposed to come up with all that money right now? There are a ton of websites out there with some kind of budget calculator to help, but a lot of them leave off the income part. You need to know how much you can afford before you research how much things cost. When a vendor or the Nod or Wedding Wire asks you what your budget is, all of a sudden you're coming face to face with the budget monster. Look, it's not as scary as you think it is. The best ways to beat down that monster is know what you can afford, your income, and do plenty of research to know what costs are involved, your expenditures. So let's start with who is paying for the wedding. Are you and or fiance, or is your parents, grandparents, or someone else paying? If someone other than you and your fiance is paying for it, then help them by spending some time researching your expenditures that we'll talk about in a minute. If you're like a lot of people out there and paying for most of it yourselves, then we need to centralize the money. I learned this from a bride I helped a while back, and I would love to share this theory with you. Money is a difficult area to talk about. It causes a lot of fights and frustrations. You fork over money for your centerpieces and he's out buying 2 more GoPros and neither one of you are telling the other about your expenses. A lot of couples hide money or don't communicate well and you end up spending thousands more than you wanted. So being completely open and transparent about what you are spending is a real big stick to beat that monster with. Centralizing the money means that all the money you plan on using for the wedding is in one location. What my bride friend did was open a joint checking account for her and her fiance, and they put in all the money they had saved, money that was contributed by their family, and they made deposits to it every month. They both had a debit card and a few checks, and they were able to transfer money from their personal accounts to the joint account. They didn't spend any money out of their own personal accounts, and after the wedding, they ended up moving everything to their new joint account anyway. Now, you can close that account after the wedding, but it makes it easy for both of you to see what exactly you are spending your money on and how much you have. Don't forget to talk about every expense before you buy, and both of you have access to whatever budget calculator you choose to use and update it as soon as you spent or deposited money. Money is a scary monster all on its own, but working as a team, you can overcome it. Now that the where the money is coming from has been worked out, let's figure out how much is your income. The 3 things you need to ask yourself is, what do you have saved already? What is the total being contributed or gifted to you? And how much can you afford to deposit monthly? This is all your income or cash in. Below I have a link to an Excel worksheet that I use if you need help. If you're using my linked Excel sheet, enter these amounts in the corresponding yellow squares and it'll calculate for you. Don't forget to also enter where the money is so you can find it later, like whose account is it in? Now let's talk about the 3 types of money. Saved money is obviously how much you have saved. Yes, it could be a credit card, although I don't recommend that. It could be someone's savings account drawing interest or anywhere else. But what have you already put aside for the wedding? The contributed money can be a sensitive subject. Maybe your mom said that she would give you money a long time ago, but never said how much. Or maybe your dad paid for your sister's wedding, but hasn't said if he's helping you with yours. So because you kind of need to know if there will be other money available to you, try being honest and just come out and ask. Hey mom, it's kind of uncomfortable to ask this, but a while back you said that you would give us money for the wedding. Is that offer still on the table? If not, it's okay, we understand. We just need to be able to put an accurate budget together. And actually understand if they can't help. Money is tight for everyone. Contributing and gifting is a way for others to help when they don't know what else to do. So if you're given money at a shower or whatever, put that money into either the joint account or at least a designated account you'll be using. And write a thank you note saying what that money is going towards and send it right away. Deposit money is what you can deposit into your joint account periodically. Remember that when you make payments to vendors, you don't pay a lump sum to hardly anyone. You pay it as a deposit, then maybe 2 or 3 more payments, and then your final payment. So making a plan to add more money to your cash in each month will help with those small payments that come up all the time. Maybe instead of spending $5 a day on the venti caramel macchiato with soy on your way to work, save it. At the end of the month, you could have saved $100 to use for buying your mason jar and candle centerpieces. Or maybe you know that you can put $20 from every paycheck into your account. So decide if you are cutting something out or putting something aside, then multiply it by however many months you have until your wedding day, and that is your deposit goal amount. Your deposit actual amount is a running total of how much you have actually put into that account. Now that you have these numbers, you can figure out your income or how much you can afford. Your saved, contributed, and deposit goal is your estimated income total. Your saved, contributed, and deposit actual is your actual income total. Now this is where the budget monster tries to grab your foot while he's hiding under your bed. He's trying to trip you up with the word budget. When a venue asks you what your budget is, they're actually asking for your estimated income total. Mostly it's all-inclusive venues that have vendors on hand. They're trying to see if it'll fit in your budget, or maybe a wedding planner that needs to know how she can stay within your budget. But they're actually using the wrong word. They want to know how much you can afford to pay. So before you even try to figure out how much things cost, you just need to know how much you can afford. Then all your expenditures or cash out need to fall on or below that amount. So because I'm visual, here's an example. I have saved $4,000 and it's in my savings account drawing interest. I plan on using that for the venue, and anything left over will go into the joint account. My soon-to-be in-laws and parents both contributed $2,000 each for a total of $4,000 that we put in the joint account. I'm giving up my $5 Starbucks coffee every morning for 5 days a week, 4 weeks a month, and 12 months till our wedding day. So my deposit goal is $1,200. And it's going to be really hard, but I know I can do it. I've already put in $200 of that goal into the joint account, so my deposit actual is $200. My estimated income total is $9,200. This is what I can tell my venue and wedding planner and the knot or wedding wire what I can afford, or as they refer to it using the wrong word, budget. Now, a big thing to keep in mind is that these totals are not set in stone. If you find something you love and it's more expensive than you planned, you will find the money to pay for it. And you can always find a way to save more, like maybe one paycheck you put $50 in instead of $20. Or you have an aunt that gives you a $5,000 check to help contribute, and that amount will increase unexpectedly. Your income totals could and probably will change over the amount of time till your wedding day. Now, in an earlier episode, Case 002, The Talk Part 2, I talked briefly about how to decide on your budget, knowing what's valuable to you, and figuring out how much you can afford. But I also suggested that when a venue asks you your budget, you lie and tell them what's reasonable for your market. In my case, I would say $10,000. Now, looking at my example, I'm not far off from that. It wouldn't take much to add another $800 over 12 months to reach that $10,000 total. But again, the venue wants to know how much you can afford because they want to sell you the venue rental and all the inclusive vendors they can. So when they ask you what your budget is and you tell them $10,000, not only is it fairly reasonable for you, but it helps them know how much they can offer and still stay in your budget. So now that monster isn't quite as big as we thought. We now know how to find out how much we can afford. We now know what to tell people when they ask, "What is your budget?" And we now know they are using the wrong word and they should be asking, "What can you afford?" So now let's talk about what this money's going for, your expenditures. If you're using my linked Excel worksheet, you'll see a list of most of the items that you'll be dealing with. You can change the words or move things around to what works for you. Again, there are many budget calculators out there that have more or less words, and some of the words are different. So just use whatever works for you or create your own. I always suggest to try to find at least 3 options for your venue and vendors. The more research you do on your vendors and pricing, the more knowledge and power you'll have. For example, if you know that DJ A charges $750 and DJ B charges $800, but throws in uplights and a monogrammed floor light, which is something you really wanted, then maybe going with DJ B would save you the money on going out and renting the lights on your own. Or another example is if venue A charges $2,000 for rental only and doesn't provide tables and chairs, and venue B charges $3,500 but includes all the tables, the tablecloths, the chairs, along with setup and takedown and cleanup. You know that you can go rent tables and chairs and tablecloths for $1,000 from a rental company, but you'll still have to set it up, take it down, and clean at the end. So maybe paying that extra $500 to not have to deal with any of that is worth it to you. Since the first thing you want to book after getting a wedding planner is your reception venue, choose the top 3 favorites and list them as option A, B, or C. Then work your way down that list. If you're talking to an all-inclusive venue, be sure that they can provide you a listing of every single charge. Then just plug those charges into the corresponding option slot and let it calculate for you. So if option A is an all-inclusive, list all the charges for any and all vendors, fees, and anything else they charge you. Then say option B is for a separate reception and ceremony location, a different DJ, and you'll be providing most of the flowers and most of everything else. And option C is, again, a different venue with different vendor options, maybe something like your aunt's backyard. Some of your expenditures may be the same across the board. I mean, you only have one option for a marriage license that's going to cost you $81. So just enter those charges in all 3 option slots. And some expenditures you may not be able to afford or want, so just zero those out. But the more vendors you contact, the more you can see what others are charging, and you can make a confident decision on who you want to go with. So when your nosy aunt calls and says you're getting ripped off by the venue you chose, you can confidently tell her that you did all the research and chose the right one that gave you the best deal. And lastly, our totals. Remember, a budget is both the income and expenditures. One cannot happen without the other. So again, when venues, vendors, or website budget calculators ask for your budget, they're asking the wrong thing. What people want to know is how much you can afford. Then after researching the costs, you can figure out what you have available to spend your money on. In my linked worksheet, for example, at the bottom there's a total for cash out for each option. The cash in totals have been brought down, and your total profit or loss can be calculated from subtracting the cash out from the cash in. Remember, red is whack, stay in black. So now we have a little more bravery in us and can shine a flashlight under the bed and realize it was just our cute little monkey the whole time. A budget isn't scary when you know what exactly vendors are asking for and how to figure out what you want to spend your money on. You don't have to find all the costs first. That comes later. You just need to know what you can afford right now. Remember, the longer your engagement, the more money you can save. But it's perfectly fine to have short engagements as long as you're realistic about what you can afford. So when that budget monster pops up at you and your venue says, "What's your budget?" you can snicker to yourself and say, "I can afford this amount," and put that budget monster in its place. Thank you for watching. If you have comments or questions, please leave it below and I'll get to all of them. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and feel free to share and give me a thumbs up. I'll have more videos coming up, like how to organize a rehearsal and plan a rehearsal dinner, so don't miss out. See you soon, and remember, I've got your back.